Good evening and welcome to Hot Topics from the Soul. I'm your host, Dr. Valerie Parker Hagan, and I'm so delighted to be here another Tuesday. It's storming outside, so if we have any technical difficulty, it is due to the weather. I have my co host with me.
Well, good evening. And yes, we're here in sunny South Florida, but with stormy, rainy weather right about now. But I believe our topic tonight is going to warm things up or heat things up in a different way.
Yes, we've been talking about relationships, and I have a couple that we belong to the same church, Horace and Darlene Hord, and they have ministry or coaching that they utilize and to strengthen men and women to become productive individuals walking in purpose. A lot of times individuals are always looking for a mate. They're like, oh, I want to be in a relationship. I want to be in love. But they have a lot of baggage that they carry along with them. And I love their program because what it does is it pulls back the layers. Sometimes we have these emotional vaults that have all types of emotions from childhood that we've not been healed with, but the ministry and what they do is so phenomenal. And I want to bring them on, Horace and Darlene Hord.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Valerie. So good to see you.
Hi. Hi, how are you?
Tremendous. Thank you. Peace be with you. How are you?
Awesome. I was so gravitated. First, Darlene is just a phenomenal, beautiful woman. How long have y'all been married?
Almost 11 years. Been 11 years this April.
Yeah.
April 10. 11
wow.
Years. We're still on our honeymoon, right?
That is so amazing. Horace, I actually met you first. My cousin, Al Smith, was president of Florida Memorial. And, he had y'all had your annual banquet or something, and he introduced me to you then. And then a few weeks later, I was at church and I said, I know him.
Well, what's so interesting? Albert Smith recruited me to the board of trustees at Florida Memorial University.
Really?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. When he came in as president, he's the one who recruited me to the board of trustees. Yes, he did. Yes.
Oh, okay. So it's a small world because I was like, really? Then when I saw you, I was like, how did he connect here with this church? And then with my cousin there, him and Sadie. So,
there's a sign of a divine connection between you and him. It was supposed to happen.
Yes. So, you two have you've joined together and you have this phenomenal ministry that helps kind of like a rebirthing to men and women that are trying to find and discover their purpose. So, Darlene, I want to start with you. Tell me how you came about with creating your coaching program that you have for women.
Good. Well, I'm actually a certified life purpose coach, and obviously an ordained minister through Bishop Henry Fernandez that we all serve under. But years ago, I'm from the Bahamas, in case some don't know. But years ago, when I was in the Bahamas, I just moved from California to the Bahamas, and the Lord began to just begin to speak to me about different things that I ought to be doing as it relates to women. I'm a prayer warrior, and I love getting into the presence of the Lord and praying for the needs of others, an intercessor, as a prophetic intercessor. And he just started downloading it to me that there was time that he's put so much in me. It's now time to reach out. It's now time to reach out for others. And I didn't quite know what that was supposed to look like, or even if I'm qualified to do so at the time. I wasn't ordained or anything like that, but I know that I heard him, and I wrote down what he gave to me as a plan for what he wants me to do, and I didn't know when. I've been mentored. I've been mentored and coached by Dr. Miles Monroe, whom you know, Dr. Cindy Trim. They've all been mentors and coaches to me, so I knew what they assisted me with in my development process. And it's something about knowing that the Bible says, freely you have been given, freely you shall receive. And so for me, it was a matter of realizing that, somebody was there for me. And they reached out to make sure that I crossed my I's and crossed my T's and dotted my I's correctly, that I showed up in the right way with professionalism and with the spirit of excellence. But somebody had to teach me that. Somebody had to show me the way. And so the Lord put in my spirit that's what a part of what I'm called to do. And I'm from a family of 12, and I'm so used to having to
A
share.
family of 12?
Yes. My mother had 12
Wow.
siblings.
She's number six.
7 sisters and 4 brothers. And so I knew the whole
I'm
aspect of,
14. I'm 14, but I'm the oldest girl.
oh
I'm
my
10, and I feel like a small group.
I'm three.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so I'm so used to sharing. So it's almost like, okay, I feel so gifted with this. I've groomed, opportunities are created for me. I can't keep this to myself. I want to help somebody else. And so it wasn't until I moved to Florida, actually, after being ordained. There's something about when God gives you a vision. Sometimes people make the error of starting it right away. You got to learn
Hmm.
to wait on him, because oftentimes my husband says all the time that God often forecasts before he fulfills. And so the process of fulfillment is how he begins to train you and develop you. And so it wasn't until I moved here some 5 years later in ministry that I was seeing, and I know that we're going to talk a bit about purpose and understanding your purpose. And Pastor Miles always says that everything that you see that irks you, that really bothers you, that you feel like you just want to jump and fix it, is an indication of what you may be called to do to make it. And so I was seeing a lot of things that were in the life of young men and young ladies that were Christians, but was just not operating that spirit of excellence. Yes, they might have had the gifts of the spirit, they might have understand the spiritual things, but the emotional and soulical things were still and they were still in bondage too. And so the program came along to do exactly that. It's one that focuses on body, soul, and spiritual aspect of who you are as a man or woman. And it really is about mentoring. It's about passing the baton. It's about reaching out to your brother and your sister to help them do better with where they are. Sometimes you have to realize that people don't do better because they don't know any better. But once you get the revelation and the wisdom and the understanding and get the teaching, it's all a part of trying to help them look the best that they can look and be the best person that God's created them to be. So the program was born in 2015 with ladies, mentors that came along, and we had a program dealing where we had different speakers that would come in. As you know, you were one of our speakers, especially when we dealt with the solical realm of things, of unforgiveness and things that always hold us back. But we do have different speakers that come in. It's a 6-month program. Like Esther, she had 6 months of bitterness and 6 months of sweet. So it's developed so that they can develop those different aspects of themselves. One of the things I always say is God is concerned about the whole man, not just
Yes.
you look on the exterior. He's also concerned about he's concerned about your body, making sure that it's healthy, your soul and your spirit. And your soulful realm, you both know that's a part of what this program is all about, matters of the soul. And sometimes we don't get to that place of matters of the soul, and women don't, and men don't realize that something in their soulical realm is holding them back from being whole, holding them back from fulfilling their purpose. So the program is designed, this is that. So we've been in development for since 2015. And at that time, Men of Valor had not been in, but I let my husband talk about that because we've now added on the component for men and women to make that balance that I believe God's called us to. So that's kind of what it's like in a nutshell. We've had 150 ladies and gentlemen that have already gone through the program. It culminates actually in a high tea party, which we're very excited about. It's like they're coming out
Yes.
from having completed the program. And so in the same process of the Tea Party, they're able to go on and do a lot of things that perhaps they might have felt stuck, that they needed to deal with. Many of them have launched their own careers, their own ministries. Some of them have had recording artists. Some of them have written books and launched out with a number of different products that they're now as entrepreneurs in the marketplace, and even ministers in different areas where they're called to. So it's a successful program that we've had. This is our 7th year. And again, my husband has joined us. So he's doing the Mighty Men of Valor. He's hitting me, and I'm not sure why.
Ask the question.
I don't know if he was feeling something here. Should I come a little closer? What is it, darling?
Yes, come a little closer, please. Because Horace, you're out a little bit. So I want to hear how it is that you mentor the men, because there's so many men that are going through not only emotionally but mentally the struggle of trying to be a man and trying to be a provider, trying to be a father. So how is it that you're able to allow the men to even open up, because sometimes proud won't allow it to be so? How were you able to wiggle your way in there so that they could feel comfortable talking to you? And Dr. J, I know you have some questions because this is your realm right here.
Absolutely.
Well, that's an excellent question. First of all, thank you very much, Dr. Valerie and Dr. Thicklin, for allowing us to be on your show. It's a pleasure, first of all. Your question is somewhat twofold. First of all, I like to say that beside every man is a greater woman. And my wife started this program, as she indicated, in 2015. I didn't come on board until a year ago. Okay. And we came on board with 5 men. And I have to say to you that it was an extraordinary experience. These were gentlemen who ranged from their early 30s to 62 years old, actually. And each of them felt that they were in need of mentoring. And that indicated to me that people don't really know what they need, okay? But they do need, they know they need something. And so it was very propitious that when we began the program with the men, we did a little differently than the women did. We had some sessions that, as you indicated, these men were able to cathart and allow themselves to be real. And that was the essence of the program. I have to say that segueing into this year, we've had some difficulty. It's not been the same because it's been completely virtual this year, whereas in the first session, it was hands-on. It was hands-on and face-to-face, and where you can encourage the men, and they had no problem crying and breaking down and just sharing what they needed to share.
They had their man cave.
We had a man cave, right? However, men don't feel too comfortable crying on Zoom or crying on a platform such as this, okay? Because there's nobody to support them, nobody to take their hand, nobody to take their back and to really gird them up, if you will, okay? So we still have had some success. We started off this year actually with 7 mentees. The first year we had 5, all 5 graduated with honors, I should say. This year we've had 7,
And one even got married.
One got married.
Yeah.
That's right.
He met
And
his
he married a daughter of
he met
Zion.
his wife at the last event, actually. At the
Okay.
ceremony, yes, yeah, and they had been in contact with each other throughout the program, but they never really noticed each other until the very last day, which was again
Wow.
divine inspiration. Okay, and so I would say not only did one get married, but some
Restored.
of them had marriages restored as well.
2 got married, actually, when we think about it.
2 did get married. That's
Maya
correct.
and
Right.
Sheldon.
Yeah, this one couple was living together, and eventually felt convicted and decided to marry, and they did. They've got a very successful, very positive marriage right now. Another couple was having challenges with their marriage, and they were able to overcome and get back together, and again have a very positive situation. As you said, there was a significant marriage that came about as the very last day. It's so funny because the way the tables were set up, the gentleman was sitting at a table just in front of his bride to be, and when he would get up and go for his presentation, or she would get up for her presentation, they both made presentations actually, which was the unique thing where they wound up,
Wow.
yeah, where they wound up getting introduced, okay, and noticing each other. And so from that point forward, they have had a very successful relationship and a very positive marriage as well. But again, to answer your question, it really is a hands-on product with men. Men have to feel that they can open up. They have to have a comfort level. They have to know that there's no harm in breaking down. There's no harm in just opening up and sharing whatever it is that is troubling, whatever it is that they're rejoicing over. Okay. And so I say to you that there is an extraordinary need for men to be mentored. There's an extraordinary need for men to have individual relationships. And that's what we have. Every mentee has an individual mentor. And this year round, we've even had the men who went through before, they have served as adjunct mentors, mentors in training. And so there's a process there that we feel is going to be very productive going forward as well.
You know, as I listen to you, I'm just taken because of the fact that, and you know, that society treat men and women quite different, and we are different. We're socialized differently. You know, I grew up with six sisters, and I had three brothers. Five of my six sisters were older than I was, so I always said I had this view. I had this opportunity to watch these young ladies grow up. You know, all of them was teenagers before me, and all these things. But I noticed that they were on a track. You know, it was always fair to them that, you know, they was growing up and one day they would be somebody's wife. They would be that. But that wasn't that same type of emphasis put to us as boys, that we would grow up and become somebody's husband. And so in terms of that, especially in this country, there's not really a rites of passage type of a program that leads us to these things. And so there's so much trial and error. And I think that by the time we even get to that place, we have more luggage than Samsonite. We have so many issues that have happened in our lives. And then again, our emotions might say, I want to be married. But we have so many things that we've not unpacked. And so when you talk about earning a man's trust, I believe that all men, we all need mentorship. I've spent my life inside of that work. We need mentorship. Dear friend, years ago, Dr. T. Garrett Benjamin would say that every young boy have the ambition of becoming a man, but every young boy don't make the transition in becoming a man. And so we're in between that, you know, things happen. There are a lot of young men that become fathers before they become men. So they don't even understand manhood, and they're thrust into fatherhood. And then oftentimes it's backwards. And so being vulnerable is not something that most of us are comfortable with being. You know, oftentimes not understanding where we are and then having to admit that we don't understand it is even tougher. And so when you talk about your program, and I understand exactly what you mean. I'm stuck in this virtual thing now. I'm used to dealing with men, you know, one-on-one, because we have those type sessions. When it's powerful, man, they have the support of each other. And I'm talking about there's some tears that can be shed, but nobody wants to shed tears on ITV. You know, that this is what this might as well be. But I want to say to you, inside of your commitment, you join your wife inside of what has started. And let me ask you, how much of a need do you see now from men? Are you having men to come forward? Are they feeling? Do they feel like they have a lifeline? That's what I like to think about it as being a lifeline. Because I do know as a man, we don't always find people that we can be vulnerable with, that we can be transparent with, that we can actually tell the truth and know that we're in a safe place to tell the truth. Because I think if we're safe, we're more easily to accept correction if we feel safe. But if we feel that you're going to pounce on us before we can even get it out, we shut down like a clam. So what has this been like with you? I mean, since you've launched this part here with the Men of Valor, have you seen an increase of men, or perhaps the men that you mentored, are they kind of being the Pied Pipers and going out telling other men?
You've hit it exactly on the nose, number one. First of all, what's unique for men is that as a mentor, you have to have experience. And you have to have experience to which the men you are mentoring can relate to. I have been married, this is my third marriage. Okay? So I have a very significant amount of experience in marriage.
And he finally got it right.
I finally got it right. Okay.
I love it.
The first two I chose. This one God chose for me. Okay.
Amen. Yes.
So there's a big difference there. And that's actually part of mentoring as well. Okay. I've been bankrupt. I've been on the top. I've been on the bottom. I've had all kinds of challenges. You name it, I've been there. I've been extremely successful in business. I've been an executive with Fortune 500 companies. And so I can relate to men. Almost anything they're going to go through, I've been there. Okay. And so when they say, well, you don't know what I'm going, I said, I do know what you're going through. But let me share with you what has happened to me. And I'm very serious. It's a phenomenon that once you get that level of unique camaraderie, then they begin to say, okay, I see there's some real stuff going on here. Okay. And it's not a bunch of fluff. It's real. And as you said before, there's a lot of crying that goes on. There's a lot of crying that goes on and a lot of cathartic and extraordinary growth. All of the mentees that went through the first year, they still give me a call. Okay. And they still want to stay in touch. And they are also promoting the mentorship program as well. So there is a pipeline. I would just say that what's interesting about this program is that we have just launched this January at Florida Memorial University with 20 mentees on campus. Okay.
Wow, that's awesome.
So we reach further down to the
Yeah.
student level. Most of
I love
those
it.
in the program are
Yeah.
all adults from 25 and up. We now have the opportunity to capture the students even before they launch out into their careers and go into the marketplace.
And one other
And
unique,
that's so important too, because of the fact that a lot of times, especially men, they don't have anyone to help cultivate them, to
precisely,
show them the right way. Some of them come from single parent homes where the only parent is the mother. So they don't know anything about a man being in touch and leading and guiding. And a lot of times that man that's leading and guiding is somebody that's, maybe an abuser, an alcoholic, a womanizer. So they've not been taught structure on how to be a man. So I think that's where the breakdown happens when it comes into relationships as it
yes,
relates to the men. And then with the women, they're looking for that father. They're looking for that protector. They're looking for that love, someone to actually, respect them in a space where, they say they're looking for their father, but then, they'll gravitate to someone older, hoping that they can, get that love that they've craved. And when they're disappointed by that, they envelop and go back into another shell, which causes layers upon layers where they're unable to function productively in a normal, stable relationship. Their normal to them is chaotic.
yes,
Stable is frightening.
Right.
absolutely. You're right on point. One of the things that my wife indicated initially is that this is a holistic program. We teach these individuals aspects of social etiquette, of business etiquette, of spiritual etiquette, if you will. It's a spiritual based program, and we teach them body, health, and wellness
Fitness.
and fitness.
Yeah.
And we have a financial literacy program, which is conducted by PNC Bank once a month. And what we have noticed in particular among our people, because most of them have been African American, although we've had some non-African Americans in the program as well. But there is a economic emancipation that's necessary for our people to know what the value is of wealth.
Yeah.
And it's not just money, okay, but it comes down to ownership also in terms of not necessarily having to work for someone to be dictated to in terms of how you should be paid and how much you're worth, but to have true wealth and be able to grow out of what that syndrome is of poverty and of slavery.
Yeah.
That has been upon us for such a long time.
And the whole aspect of learning how to manage, being a good steward of what you have. And yeah, you both know, doctors and doctor, in the past, the African American community had not paid attention to how we manage our wealth, how to attain it. Perhaps they will learn it, but how to manage it and make it work for them. And so we've decided that that's going to be a very integral component of this program, that they will get the financial literacy piece as well. We're finding that a lot of them never did a budget. They never saw the importance of doing a budget. And even if within a relationship, finding out that they need to be of one accord with their husband or with their wife or whomever they're in partnership with, to manage their funds as good stewards, so that you can learn how to reproduce. You can learn how to be fruitful and multiply, not just physically with children, but you can be fruitful and multiply those things that you have as it relates to resources, managing your resources, learning how to make resources. And that's one of the things about the program that we're excited about, because we're seeing a lot of young men and ladies that came to the program that had creative and witty ideas, but didn't know how to set goals, didn't know how to make it happen, didn't know how to put a budget together, or
To that point, to that point, we spend a lot of time with time management
yes,
and vision boards, and that's something that has taken hold in terms of the mentees to really be able to set goals and objectives and time frames and being able to achieve them as well
manage your time.
and manage their time. So
Which I'm still learning. He'll say that.
but it's a very dynamic program. It's one that we've seen significant results in terms of the person that have gone through the program. And we've got some people who couldn't graduate because they didn't meet the complete criteria.
Yeah, we have standards. We have standards, and we have criteria that we want to uphold. Just like any university or any program that you go through, there are standards, and we carry the spirit of excellence. Dr. Valerie knows this because she's been a part of helping us try to uphold that within making the young ladies and gentlemen accountable for what they do, and realizing that once you make a commitment, you want to honor that commitment. That's the part of integrity and leadership and character development that we also have as a part of the program. Honor your word. Your word is your bond, and we want to make sure that they honor it and commit to the process so that they can learn through it. Now, some of it may not be easy. One word that I learned the other day was something that's iconistic, which is like an elastic band. So sometimes you have to be stretched, and it comes back together. So when it comes back together, it's a beautiful thing. But in mentoring and in coaching, we have to help others be stretched, and in that stretching, they come to realize how much they really have in them that they didn't recognize before.
I think also that this is a very spiritually based program. And one of the unique aspects, Bishop Fernandez was our keynote speaker at our last graduation. And he was impressed, in particular with the men. And at the end of that session, he asked us to enter a partnership with him, with the Faith Center, which we have initiated an MOU with the Faith Center that once our mentees graduate, they enter into a program with the Faith Center of an internship for a year, going through the various areas within the Faith Center. And that's significant because now you're talking about the spiritual aspect being honed to the highest level of excellence. And Bishop Fernandez is a man of excellence himself. So that's, I think, very unique to the extent that God has provided us that opportunity as well.
Well, how do you help empower individuals that are listening? Because this program is a global program, and there are people, since we're doing things virtually now, they may not want to be connected to the Faith Center. They may not want to be connected to Florida Memorial, but they want to get the teachings that you have. How does individuals be able to connect and still benefit from the value that you bring?
Well, it's interesting you should say that, even as it relates to it being now a global network. And we have gotten various prophetic words about the fact that we are going global. Quite frankly, it was something that I was like, I don't know how I can possibly do that with going global, because it takes so much to put this program together. God's going to have to give me the finances. He's going to have to give me a team. He's going to have to show me how. And in this pandemic, Dr. Valerie, we have indeed gone global. Because this platform, we have two young ladies that's in the program now. One lives in Chicago, and the other lives just outside of Atlanta. So we are being able to go global with that, and so persons are able to join in with us. We had some persons even out of New York that wanted to join with us, and at that time we said, "Well, no, you do have to spend some time here." But information is on the program on our webpage that you just put up a short while ago. But persons can get more information about the program. We are at www.daughtersofzion.global, wodglobal.com. And so there's information on there of all of the programs that we've had heretofore, as well as how you can get engaged with it. There is a small fee, even though we're always looking for sponsorship to be able to have the program available for others. So it's there for them to participate. And we're excited to be able to go global throughout the world. We're looking at doing some things in the Bahamas, where I'm from, in Aruba, even in Africa. We've made connections with persons that see the value with our program, and would like to see it spread our wings a bit further to do so. And so we're starting off in that process.
We'll start a new program in May.
Yes.
We have sort of tempered the program for 2020 because we're not finishing it until 2021, actually, because of the COVID. But we will have a virtual graduation on March the 7th. We will have a drive-by for them to pick up their paraphernalia, their certificates and their goodie bags on the 28th of this month. And then we will start a new program in May. Mm-hmm. And presumably we'll be able to come together in December for a collective graduation from those who went through the program for 2020 and those who are going through in 2021 with the high tea party, okay, because that's the epitome of this graduation ceremony. It's extraordinary. And so hopefully we'll be able to do it this year. But the new program, we will start in May. What's so funny is that I just got an application from a woman, 45-year-old lady, sent it to me, okay, for the Daughters of Zion program, but she somehow got the address for the Men of Valor, Men of Distinction, and she sent it to me. So I forwarded it to my wife last night, as a matter of fact. So that could be the very first potential mentee that's going to come into the program for 2021.
You know, one of the things I like to say to you both, and I think what you're doing is absolutely incredible, because, you know, I mentioned earlier about this whole rites of passage. What I think that you all offer is value. And I heard you talk about your standard, because I do believe this. Even people who desire to be better, to do better, oftentimes they're frightened by what they don't know. You know, and even the most spiritual people say, well, you know, I got the faith, but oftentimes we don't have the faith to really push it through. I do believe that faith makes things possible, but not necessarily easy. And so if you want to go to that next level, you've got to be willing to connect as you all have. And as I listen to you, it sounds like something that is so needed. I mean, all around. I mean, I think your relationship with Florida Memorial is incredible, because I do think that, especially young men, I think young men, we need so much. We really do. You know, after my mistakes in life and things I look at, I have a saying. I don't think any man should even consider getting married before he's 28, because I think he has no idea who he is. I think he has no idea what he stands for. I think he's just trying to figure out life himself. And oftentimes, I think we do get the butterflies, the feelings, the emotions. We put that before the cart, and then but we understand. Well, emotion doesn't pay any bills. Emotion doesn't provide. It doesn't, and all those things there. And once again, I'm going back to the Samsonite. We end up with so much luggage, right, so much thing, that it chokes us out, oftentimes crippling us in those years that should be very productive and developmental. So, first of all, I'm going to say it's such a God work that you both are doing, because, you know, some people don't recover. Some people end up with these hurts and these things that it's like dragging, if you would, ball and chain the rest of their life. But God is using what you all are doing to literally set some people free, to discover their purpose, to understand that they don't have to die in their yesterday. And I just commend that, because once again, I go back to the men. Being a man has not been defined in one definition. So often we're still trying to discover what is a man.
Yeah.
We've been given this role. Think about it. Our little children, my grandboys, they're not even just 2 years old. What do I say? Papa, little man. Well, what does that mean? We've been calling them little men all of their lives, but oftentimes we're not providing the tools. How do they become a man? When do they become a man? Who certifies that they are a man? And I thank you because I do believe in what you're doing. You're presenting a vehicle that gives them some type of road to something. And I love the fact that you have your graduation because we need to be able to accomplish it. It need to be a demarcation that I made it. I've gone from one tier to another because I do think that's what's wrong in our society. We just reward our kids for anything, right? I got a brand new pair of shoes. Why? Because they was on sale. No. What did they do to earn it? What plateau did they reach? What benchmark? And I think that we need that, especially men. So I salute you once again, and I'm excited, and I know that we're going to put up your website again before we're done. But I think it's so exciting. Going back to Dr. Val's question, I think things like this need to be replicated throughout. I think every church needs to have something like this connected to it. I do. I do believe it because Bible study doesn't always provide that type of mentorship,
Right.
that type of passageway. It's not necessarily specific enough in so doing. But when you're able to take that para ministry like that and begin to offer it, man, that's hope, that's light. There's people that will come to that's not really interested in being in the worship service. And I'm not down in the worship service, but what they need in their life at that time is what you're offering.
Well, you're interesting. Your comments are very, very well received. And, our ultimate objectives and goal is to present our mentees and prepare them for marriage, ministry, and the marketplace.
I love it.
That's the ultimate. Okay. And when they come out of our program, they should be prepared for marriage, ministry, and the marketplace. So we spend time with the men in terms of how to treat a woman. Even from the basic etiquette point of view, how to walk with them, how to sit with them, how to talk with them, even how to eat properly.
We have to reteach that too, right?
We teach that. Matter of fact, we just did a segment on that last week. As a matter of fact, how with the proper silverware, how to set the table properly, how to use your glasses properly, what glass to use for wine, etc. If you're going to drink wine. How to eat spaghetti, even, and so it's again a full holistic program that when they come out of the program, they are indeed prepared for marriage, ministry, and the marketplace.
And we like to say it's a transformational program.
Right.
They're being transformed, and they're coming out and one of our icons that we use, we talk about the phoenix bird. And though it's a mythical creature, that phoenix bird had to die and become ashes, but out of the ashes they rise. And that's a part of what we do. So the ladies, when you feel that you're burnt and you're broken and whatever, but there's hope because somebody's going to come and raise and help to raise up that standard and pull you up so that you can rise triumphantly in all of your beauty and splendor. There's a whole aspect of it, as you can see in the back. You can't see, but one of our icons is the phoenix bird and also the crown and the scepter. The scepter, as you all know, with Esther in the book of Esther, she was prepared and she received her crown, but she couldn't have an audience with the king unless he extended the scepter to her. So through this program, we're teaching them how to be women of excellence, body, soul, and spirit, so that the king, whether it be the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, or the king who is your Boaz, he recognizes you and gives you access to come on in. And rise up and stand beside him. Like my husband said, beside every great man is an awesome woman. And so
a greater woman.
And so we believe in helping to prepare them for that. Recognizing, and you mentioned it as well, there are areas in men and ladies' life that where they've fallen short. Where they did not have the example that they now have the example that they ought to have had. I didn't have the right examples until someone saw something in me to say that there's more than, and let me help you cultivate it. And so that's the passion that both of us have in us, that we see so much potential, untapped potential in so many men and women that are walking around, that a part of me just reaches out all of the time to say, just like someone said to me, well, you could do a little better than that. Stop settling for less. You deserve the best. And so it helps us to teach you. And a lot of it is all about a mindset change. They have to have a mindset change to know that they deserve better. And that mindset change comes through the transformation process of transforming the renewal of their minds. And so that's what we're working on. And we're excited to be able to do that for.
So what about someone that comes along and say, Horace and Darlene, it sounds real nice, but I'm kind of rough around the edges and I don't believe in all this church stuff, but I know I need some help.
That's an excellent question.
Yeah.
It really is. What's interesting is the very first person that I was asked to mentor from the church, if you will,
Mhm.
is a man who's 52 years old. And he asked to be mentored, right? And so when we met, I said, well, why are you asking to be mentored? He said, well, I'm rough around the edges and I need somebody to smooth me out, right? Now, this is a
Mhm.
person he's successful. He's a very successful musical artist. He's got records out, and he does very well. But he knew that something was missing, and this had nothing to do with the church. Then, okay, this had to be something outside of the church, something that he felt he could get from somebody who was going to be able to take that rough person and smooth out the edges and make it something that could be of greater value, not just to himself, but to others. That was the whole point. The whole point was for him to become of greater value to somebody else. Okay.
Mhm.
And that is the essence, I believe, of life. I believe our purpose is to be of value to someone else. It's just that simple. That's my firm belief in terms of why we are here.
But
And
to answer your question, um, if anyone that's been attracted and heard about the program, it's a holistic program. And so we paint the picture of that it's body, soul, and spirit. That's who you are. Whether we want to recognize it or not, we are triune. And so we ought not to negate any portion of ourselves. And so there are some that will come to the program and might have thought indeed that it was too spiritual, Dr. Valerie. But by the time she got in the program and started submitting and seeing the change and the revelation, like the light bulbs began to come on. And so they began to be a lot more engaged in it. We don't force it on anyone, just like when we mentioned earlier that we had a couple that did the program. They were cohabitating, they were living together, had children together. We didn't condemn them and say, you're living in sin, you can't do this program. We embraced them. And in the process of the program and the teaching that they engaged in, they realized, you know what, we're not doing this the right way. I'm going to do the right thing. And so before the program was out, they were married. And so we don't necessarily try to force it on them. We make them aware that there's a spiritual component in the program, but it's up to you. I say all the time, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And so we will open it to them, and then they still have a choice and a decision to make. Do they want to go further, and do they need that? Some of them, as a matter of fact, I'm happy to say that once they've graduated the program, persons have come back and served as a part of the committee because they're able to engage and they have a support system. Doctor, I think it's Dr. Fickling. The thing that they realize is that men need a support system. And ladies, but really, men like to be able to have another man that they could chum with, that they have the support with. So there's a support system that's developed for them, and they're able to come back year after year and bring others to the fold, really just so that they can be transformed into His image and likeness, find themselves, find their purpose, and hopefully set a strategy for their future. Our slogan, I should say slogan, but our theme for this year is preparing leaders, preparing leaders today for tomorrow. We are preparing the leaders today for tomorrow. And that's what the whole aspect of recognizing that our program is to help the preparation process.
Yeah, I think it, like I said, I think it's phenomenal. My organization, the Soul of a Woman Foundation, even though it's the soul of a woman, I cater to both male and female. And what you all are doing is actually walking out the process to help them reestablish themselves mentally and emotionally so they can be fit to be able to allow someone else to come into their life space. And also, it helped them be a better parent or parents. Along the way, when you're going through situations in your life, the brokenness, your heart is broken. And, when you go through stressful situations, you lose yourself. You lose yourself in the midst of it. So when you're lost, it's hard for you to be able to be with somebody else. And then when you have that aha moment, you see somebody that you love and you feel that you can build a life with, and you get all excited, the butterflies are flowing, and you be like, yes, this is the one. But then after those emotions fade away, what do you have? And I thank God that y'all have something to help build that so they can have a foundation to build on and grow. Because after the looks go, you got to deal with that person as they are, rather they have no teeth, no hair, they start getting wrinkled. You're going to have to learn to deal and love that individuals beyond the exterior.
Yes.
Dr. Valerie, not only when the looks go, but when you discover what happens at night with your wife when she begins to come to bed with things that she puts on her head and stuff that comes off, and so there has to be more than love. More than love, there's got to be compassion, got to be understanding, it's got to be a true friendship, if you will. Okay, we do a lot of marital counseling also. We do a lot of
Yes.
marital counseling, and the foundation is all about being a friend. That's the foundation.
Hmm.
That's all
I
about
know
being.
that's one of the things that gravitated me to my husband. We were friends, he was a now I've traveled all over the world. I can't tell you how many high powered people and celebrities that I know and have met and have relationships with. But one of the things that set him apart was he listened to me. He wanted to know about me. Everybody wants to know about me because they want to know who I'm connected to so they can get connected. But he
That's
didn't care about any of that. And
right.
that's what attracted me to him. He actually opened his ear and was sensitive to me. And throughout this marriage, because he listened and knew what I liked and didn't like, he's been able to minister to me throughout the marriage thus far because he knows where I am emotionally. And a lot of times, individuals get in relationships and they get into relationships, soulless relationships. So they don't deal on the spiritual level. So when they don't measure up on a spiritual level, then they want to discard you because all they were attracted to was the flesh, the
Yes.
outside, the exterior. And I think the foundations that you both have laid down in the programs that you have, I think it will help everybody, men and women, as well as young adults, because I love the fact that you're starting from college students because when they are going through college, that too is a stress. They're going to run into relationships there and their hearts are going to be broken. And they leave college and they say, I'm done with men, I'm done with women, I'm just going to be this hardcore business person and forget about all that, hit it and quit it and move on. And that's not what we want. So I really like the fact that you went back and said, let me build a foundation from here.
Yeah.
And I want to echo Dr. Val because of your three-pronged approach. Your three-pronged approach is holistic. So regardless of whether people, because oftentimes people mistake spirituality for religion, or they
Yes.
mistake spirituality for somehow another denomination. But as you said, we're triune being. We're a spirit that have a soul. We live in a body. And
Yes.
at any given moment in our lives, those things are all in operation at one. Part of our disarray is that we've not learned how to balance them. Part of our disarray, we've either starved one and overfed the other, or we
Yeah.
just totally have neglect one. And so we end up trying to find people to come along and to compensate for that which we have not nurtured ourselves. Well, we didn't nurture it because we didn't really understand the function of it. We didn't nurture it because no one told us that we needed to. I mean, define manhood for the average guy, even in the most well-intended guy. Well, you know, I work, I provide for my family. That's one aspect. That's one aspect.
Precisely.
But do they feel safe? Is there consistency there? Is there any predictability there? What is it that we know? And then from the woman's side, how do I minister to this man who may be giving his all, everything that he knows, and yet it still seems to be coming up short? How do I meet him where he is without tearing him down because all of a sudden he doesn't fit this image of what I think he should be? All of these things are so great, and oftentimes they're missed. As it's been said, so many people prepare for the wedding, but nobody prepares for marriage.
Marriage, that's right.
I mean, the wedding, the invitations. Everybody knows we're getting married. It's going to be blinged out. So I can't wait for you to come. Folks you haven't spoke to in years, I want you at my wedding.
Yeah.
And that happens when nobody prepared for the marriage.
Yes.
People are coming together. You know, two different people. In some cases, if you're bringing blended family, you got a whole tribe coming together. Now you're trying to bring together a tossed salad, you know, and make sense out of it. Yeah, exactly. So now what are you dealing with is that now I've got to manage. How do I manage all these personalities? How do I manage all this? And I thought my love was going to be enough just to hold all this together. Real love would, but emotions alone will not. Oftentimes, I think that we get caught up, and I can attest to this, with what I call really the optics. The optics of what it looks like. The optics.
Yeah.
No, this looks like something right off of television. The optics. And the thing about it, we never see those characters on television until it's a new season. You know, we don't know what it's really like for real because we get caught up with the optics, but it's work.
Yes.
And that work doesn't begin working on the other person. It really begins with working on yourself and be willing to do so. And so I think you all, because I think that I would call you all, if you were tool builders, you're giving people tools.
Yes.
So that they can build and they can recognize and they can reinforce and they can construct that which is needed. And I think that's been the problem. We have not always had tools. We've been told what to do, but not shown what to do.
And recognize.
Is there a process?
There's the process. Yes.
Okay. Because I said, is there a process to help these individuals to understand and know when someone is being authentic, to go beyond the emotion? Because I always say my husband loves me naked. And what does that mean? That means every scar, every freckle, every mark, whatever it is, he's already seen everything naked. I trusted him enough to show him every bit of me, every scar, everything that hurt me, where I was broken, and he was able to take that and hold it and cuddle with it. So is there a process where you show individuals how to live an authentic life?
Yes,
yes, there is.
And that's a part of the solical realm that we talk about, for wanting them to be real and removing the masks. And it's important for them to learn that it's okay to be themselves, to be their authentic self. It's important. One of the things that we also do that's mandatory within the program is that each person has to go through a counseling session, a counseling program portion, so that they are assessed. And then the counselor is able to say if they think they need more or what they may need to work through. We help them with that process. But it helps them to be real with it. They may not even recognize and feel like they need to. As a matter of fact, as you know, within the African American community, especially the Caribbean where I'm from, if you say you're going for counseling, then something must be wrong with you. You must be crazy.
Oh, that's everybody. It's not limited to the Caribbean. It's everybody. You know, they be like, if you got to go to counseling, oh, I'm not crazy. Ain't nothing wrong with me.
Yeah. But it's a healthy thing to do.
Yes.
I tell you, I've had, for me, years of counseling, and I think it helps prepare me for my husband. I'm one of those that got married later in life, and had I not had the counseling process and help someone to help me find myself, as you were adhering to before, the fact is a lot of them don't know who they are, and they're not whole and they're broken, and they expect their mate to fill in for it. But no, there's a certain portion that you have to recognize within yourself that you have to work on to know that you are somebody, that you are whole, that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, whether you have a man in your life or not. But just to recognize that and move forward. And as a matter of fact, the true Boaz will recognize Ruth because he sees that she's ready. you know, uh, one of my pastors used to over in California. She'd always say that when a woman is ready, and she's ready, she's not ready to be a woman, but she's ready to be a wife. There's a scent that she gives off. There's an aura
Mm-hmm.
that she gives off, and Boaz will recognize that, so that he realized, yeah, she's a woman, but she ain't wife material.
To further answer your question, I agree.
Yeah.
There are a couple of things that both of you have said this evening that touch very much on the foundation and fundamentals. Dr. Thicklin talked about true love, okay, and talked about friendship, okay. Those are two fundamentals. There's a third fundamental, which is an absolute law, and that is agreement. Okay, so in any relationship, and Dr. Thicklin talked about the baggage situation as well. And I have to say that in any relationship, there is baggage that's coming from both parties that they're
Absolutely.
bringing to the party. Okay. And there has to be a period of adjustment, but there has to be a foundation there that adjustment can take place. And that's where the friendship comes in. Okay. And then there's going to be some misalignment. That's where the true love comes in place. Okay. Because if you truly love a person, you're going to forgive them for those things that seem out of sort and you don't necessarily agree with. But then the power of agreement, that's scriptural. Jesus himself said, when any two or more come together, when two, okay, that is indeed the power of agreement, which can make things happen that perhaps wouldn't have been able to happen before. So those three fundamentals, friendship, agreement, and true love, are the things that can provide for success in a relationship. And that's what we try to get those that we're mentoring to understand also.
Wow,
Wow.
that is powerful. But there's so much more that I want to ask you, especially as it relates to because Horace, you said you'd been married more than one time, and how that transitioning is where you didn't bring that baggage. Because individuals, they may not have been married more than one time, but they've been in relationships where they have multiple children with different women, and that aspect, that mentality of I can't move forward because I have this going on and I have that going on. And, what if it repeats the cycle? Because a lot of times you move from relationship to relationship and don't sever that cord with the past. You
Yes.
got to make peace with your past. And some people like to revisit that because they know the street, So how, do you cover that in that process as well?
Well, let me just say, my first marriage, I was not a good guy. Okay, I was a bad boy in my first marriage. In my second marriage, they called me the saint in my second marriage because I truly was at that point rededicated to the Lord. He did a complete 180 with me, turned me around, and cleaned me up for my wife Darlene. Okay, um, but there has to be.
Look how she's smiling.
You saw that too, right?
She's just like blushing.
There has to be,
Yeah.
as Darlene said earlier, there has to be a renewing of the mind,
Yeah.
a renewing of
Yes.
the mind, and therein comes some of the spiritual that we teach. Okay, because we are triune again, but the renewing of the mind is essential. And what's most essential is to be able to forgive yourself and to forgive others. Okay, many times a person can forgive somebody else, but they're still holding the guilt for themselves, which is going to manifest itself in the relationship some way or another. Okay, And so it's important for that forgiveness aspect to be there. But therein comes the true love again. Okay. That is the thing that gives us the ability to forgive, true love. And that is the agape love. That's God's love. God is love. And that's what's going to come from. Okay. So it's just that simple, to be quite frank with you.
Wow. Well, I tell you, this has been great. Thoroughly has been great. It's going to bless so many people that are listening today. You know, the world just got through celebrating Valentine's Day, and as much as we put so much emphasis on Eros love, I concur with you that when there is a presence of agape, it will encompass and compensate for everything. I dare to say, until there's really agape there, we don't even have the ability to perfect Eros or Phileo. And I
That's
think
right.
that that is very important in today's time. And we greatly appreciate you. I do know that I can speak for Dr. Val. We'll have to have you back because there's so much that you're doing, your program, what God is doing through that ministry. But there are a lot of people in this hour that are seeking for answers. This pandemic has turned people upside down. Folks who thought that their marriage was made out of gorilla glue found out they only had bubble gum. You know, and so and
Yes.
so there's so many things
Yeah,
we have.
because they were living lives
Yes.
passing,
Yeah.
but then when
Yes.
they had to actually coexist
Uh-oh.
under the same roof, everything
Uh-huh.
just blew up.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
And so we look forward to that.
Thank you so very much. We truly
I
appreciate
know I
it.
have the websites on here, but there are people that'll be listening through radio, and I want you to give out the information about how individuals can connect with you to learn more about your program or to actually engage to become a member of your coaching.
Sure. Well, the Daughters of Zion, Women of Destiny, or rather, Daughters of Zion Men of Valor program, as we are now called. We have our website, which is daughtersofzion.wodglobal.com. The telephone number as well, if you wanted to reach out to us, is 954-249-4256, and the email address is doz.wod@gmail.com. The program does not start again until May of this year. So we're taking applications in now. There is a process. So once you fill out the application form, which you can do online, we have an interview process just to make sure to see where you are, make sure you're a good fit for the program. And it helps us also in the process of matching you to the right mentor or mentee in the program. So it is available and online now if anyone is interested in it, or if you want to chat and give us a call. We'll be happy to share more information with you. Send us an email with the email address that's there, and we'll be happy to send you other information. We can even send you a kit, so to speak, giving you an outline of what the program entails and what you will get out of it.
Yeah, that's my and one of the things of that's included in the program that's priceless is having your own personal mentor to help you along the way. And I had the opportunity of being one of your mentors in your program in 2019, and it was an amazing thing to actually work with someone and see them blossom
Yeah.
and be
Yes.
able to see the manifestation of you coaching them and loving them along the way, because a lot of people, they're lonely and they don't feel like nobody cares or nobody loves them. So your program that the both of you have, I think it is phenomenal and priceless, regardless of what the cost. You can't afford not to be a part of. You can't afford not to engage, especially right now, so that when we come out of these four walls, we'll be able to engage, in a situation where we're actually generally, thoroughly, authentically happy.
Amen. Amen.
Any closing remarks?
If you would just put up the first address again, just if my wife could just give it again. It's actually www.daughterszion-wodglobal.com. Okay. For those who listen on the radio, it is www.daughtersofzion-wodglobal.com. Okay.
Yes.
Well, we're looking forward to interacting with any of those that are out there that are interested in it. It is a holistic program, and it's actually the full name of it is Daughters of Zion, Men of Valor, Transformational Wellness mentorship program. And so we deal with every aspect of who you are as an individual, helping you to get unstuck, helping you to be cultivated, motivated, and indeed regenerated, and certainly empowered for the greatness that is inside of you.
That's our elevator pitch. Good one, right?
Elevator print. Well, again, as I said, we enjoyed you, and I thank you for tuning in and giving out some powerful information. And I want to close with my quote out of my book, From the Soul of a Woman, Love Shouldn't Hurt. And it says simply, love, it affects our past, our present, and our future. Love is an emotion, a gift given to us from God, and it should never, ever hurt. Good night and God bless. And
God
make
bless.
sure those of you that are tuning in and listen, share it with someone that you know may be going through a tough time and want to reinvent themselves and want to be the best version of themselves, forgiving and forgetting those things behind and
Yeah.
pressing forward to be that woman of purpose and that mighty man of valor. Good night and God bless. And
God
thank you,
bless.
Horace and Darlene Hord, for joining us tonight. This is their beautiful couple. They just took this picture. Aren't they absolutely adorable? I
Unbelievable.
just love them.
Thank you.
I make him look good, don't
I
I?
guess she does.
Yes, absolutely fabulous. God is so good. Good night and God
Amen.
Good
bless.
night. Thank you
Peace be
so
God
with
much.
you.
bless.
Thank you. Peace be
God
with you.
bless.
Bye bye.